Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? This is SCO0320 representing JVS. So I'm back here again for another discussion, and I will give you all the warning in the world because it's important for me personally that you go into this movie without being spoiled by anything. And I'm talking about the Justice League. Justice League debuted tonight, the 16th. I don't know if you're watching this tomorrow or a little bit later on. And I've actually saw it again for the third time. I saw it in IMAX with my good friend, and he really enjoyed it. I think he gave it like an 8 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10. Shout out to you, Diedrich. But I wanted to go over the post-credit sequences with you guys, well, the two end credit sequences, before I do my spoiler review, because in their own right, some are saying that they would go back to the movie to see it again just for those end credit sequences, which is very perplexing to me, but it does bode a lot of specific things. And so I'm not going to talk about anything about the confines of the movie. I'm just going to be talking about these post-credit scenes. So if you have not seen Justice League and you want to go into Justice League blind, take this, put it in your watch later, and come back to it, because you can always watch this at any time. I'm not really hard pressed for you to watch this if you haven't seen it. Like, at least watch the movie and you'll get the context of why these happen. Because one of the sequences is a spoiler on top of a spoiler. So I'm very particular about this. This is the first time I'm actually talking about this. So, okay, it's spoiler time. All right, the first post-credit sequence that happens as soon as the movie ends and it goes to the first reel of actor and cast credits, it is Ezra Miller and Henry Cavill. Ezra Miller is the Flash, Henry Cavill in full Superman outfit, and it is the classic, and I mean classic, Superman versus Barry Allen. The thing about this, that I feel like it's an unfair, race just yet, because honestly, Ezra Miller's character in this movie, he hasn't perfected, the Flash mantra. Like, he hasn't even immersed himself to the point that he's even got a rival at this point. So it's like, how much better is he going to eventually be? Are they going to call back to this a little bit later on? Either way, then you got Henry Cavill, Superman. The thing I'll say about the post-credit sequence, like, you can definitely tell, they definitely did some stuff with the mustache. I actually am upset with Paramount because I feel like after watching the third time, I was like, he could have just shaved. Like, he really just could have shaved, and it would have saved so much money, and it would save so much time, and it wouldn't have looked the way it did. But either way, that's just a nitpick personally. Like, I don't feel like that's a make or break kind of thing, but it does show definitely this, like, unnecessary visual effect for Superman's face. But they are both like hyped about each other. They sit there going back and forth. One of the callbacks to the movie is Barry in the beginning talking to Bruce about brunch. Like, brunch, what is that? You wait an hour for lunch, like, right? And he's talking about how people are just so slow, he's so fast, and it's how hard it's for him to interact. And the first joke that Superman was basically like, if I win, you're off the team. Barry's just so like, what? He's like, no, I'll give you another call back. Like, Bruce said, you're going to take us out to brunch. And that was a small cut joke. And then Barry was basically like, if I win, I get to tell everybody. And I thought that was really interesting. And that's just classic, you know what I'm saying? They did that with Smallville. They did that with the animated series. And the movie, to me, reminisced a lot of the animated series in so many different ways. And if you love the animated series, I think you'll love these two specific post-credit sequences. But this one kind of just ended on them. Like, Superman didn't run, he actually flew. And that's the thing, like, I've always said that there's no way that Superman can beat the Flash running, but flying, yeah, it's a possibility. So I don't know. I don't know who's actually gonna win that. So I don't know what y'all thought about that, but I thought that was actually a nice touch, very nostalgic, and it's definitely worth the watch. A lot of people left the theater when I looked at it the third time, just the general audience. So they didn't know that there was another credit sequence. Because to be honest with you, most of the time the DCEU movies have not had a credit sequence, really. The only one that kind of came close was Suicide Squad, because Bruce Wayne went to, Viola Davis and talked about whatever. The second one is the one that I think leaked online, but it platforms the movie heavily. Okay? It starts off in the sequence in Arkham Asylum. The reason why you know, the guard, I think his name is Nelson, he has this A, Arkham. So this is Arkham Asylum because it already was implied in BVS that, well, actually it was implied in BVS in the Ultimate Edition that he got moved to Arkham. Okay? And that never got put into play, but that's a whole other thing. I'll talk about that more in my spoiler review. But the guy goes, is like, Luthor, like, you gotta move, we gotta get you out. There is, before that guy gets there, there's a cellmate that mentions Riddler. And a lot of people didn't catch that. I haven't heard anybody say anything about it. I haven't tried to either. But there's a guy down to the right, he says something about Riddler, and then the guy, it cuts back to the Nelson, he was trying to call to Luthor. And you could tell by the back of the head that this is an older person's shaved head, right? And then all of a sudden he turns and he's just got this obnoxious, uncontrollable laugh. And it's not just the fact of him being crazy, it is a grin up to here. To me, that felt like a calling card that possibly Jared Leto's Joker or a Joker let Jesse Eisenberg's Lex out. Which to me would make more implied sense, because otherwise they could have just had the cell like closed in, and it could have just been somebody like with tape around their mouth or something like that, you know? I don't know. I just to me it was too on the nose to not imply Joker's hand in getting Luthor out, especially because he got Harley Quinn out like it wasn't anything. So it would make sense that those two would pair together, because then the next sequence you see is this panned out shot of, I'm not sure what bay they were in or where they were at, but there was this huge yacht boat labeled as Icon, and you could see literally in the back fold like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor in this plush suit, two guards to his back, one African American, one Caucasian, both of them holstered up. Basically the new versions of Mercy that I would call, or I guess a callback to Mercy in so many different ways, because it's two different versions that I've seen from the comics. Either way, he's got his bodyguards there, and then somebody else is arriving on the boat. And as soon as, if you saw Ben Affleck's small snippet that he shared with everybody of Slade Wilson, Deathstroke, coming off like this helicarrier, then you kind of knew that they already had that in mind, right? And so, like, when I saw the back, I was like, that's true, that's Slade Wilson. And then when he got off the freaking onto the boat from his boat and walked, everybody in the crowd just went like, what? And that's every single time I watch the movie that's happened. And Lex basically was like, what's going on, Mr. Wilson, or Deathstroke, or whatever. I can't remember what I was too busy geeking every single time this happened. But either way, Deathstroke basically like, you know, like, don't waste my time, because Lex starts going in about, well, obviously the Savior has risen now, and it looks like now he's got help, he's got his own team. And that's when Deathstroke says, don't waste my time, Luthor. And he's like, oh, I don't. I have way too many other things I've got in store. But then he says to him and looks, shouldn't we have a league of our own? Implying the Legion of Doom. If you don't know, look at the Super Friends. Look at this huge, big old dome. If you look at Justice League Doom, if you look at freaking animated series of the Justice League, it was, you know, Lex Luthor, Joker sometimes, Solomon Grundy, which would be interesting if they did Solomon Grundy. I think they also did the Flash. I don't know if they actually, man, it depends, man. There's so many different ways that they could pull it, but the simple fact of them doing a Legion of Doom would make more sense to me personally, thinking about it moving forward. Because imagine this, right? They go ahead and, this is all spoilers, Steppenwolf goes and reports back to Darkseid, or gets boomed back in. Darkseid looks at them like, and you're not going to be a new god. Get out of here, uncle or nephew, or whatever they want to actually pull it with them. I'm gonna go take care of this myself, and they make that Justice League 2. That'd be kind of redundant, right? Because then, you know, you wait for a whole layer of all these solo movies just to get back to the same exact point. Versus instead going with the Legion of Doom first. And you already know that Lex Luthor has a connection with Steppenwolf because Steppenwolf was contacted and pushed out because of what Lex Luthor did. That wasn't necessarily mentioned in the movie, but you got to see that actual sequence. So obviously he still has that ability of being able to, you know, reach out to Darkseid, so to speak. So it would only make sense that, you know, Legion of Doom be formed. You got like literally a Justice League Doom situation, like the animated series where they take all of Batman's information and they use it against him. That would be something that this Lex would do. And I think that that would be interesting because they could bring in Brain, they could bring in Cheetah, they could definitely use Slade Wilson. There's so many different ways they can pull this. And I think that that would be a good next move for Justice League 2. Like, have like a real other team going against them. So for me, I'm actually really excited about that. It opens up the realm of possibilities of what they could do. And they can definitely use these other movies like Suicide Squad 2, allow Suicide Squad 2 to be able to have Deathstroke in it. They can definitely use like Wonder Woman, use Cheetah in it. Definitely Flashpoint, and allow something like the Reverse Flash. Imagine the Reverse Flash was in the Justice League 2 movie with Lex Luthor. Dude, bruh, oh my gosh. Because Ezra's character isn't even seasoned. So imagine like a Flash that's better than the Flash, but evil. And so I think that it just bodes a lot of different possibilities. And I just ranted literally just off of these 2 post-credit sequences. But if you have not seen the movie, I just spoiled everything for you. But I didn't spoil the movie, thankfully. I just spoiled parts about the post-credit scenes. And so hopefully you enjoyed my talks about those and the realm of possibility that those entails. I'm going to be checking out the shows that I've missed, because tomorrow The Punisher starts. So I'll talk to you guys a little bit later on. And stay tuned on Saturday for my release for my spoiler review for Justice League. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Y'all have a blessed night, blessed evening, blessed day. Peace, guys.